I think we're ready to go.
Perfect.
All right. Well, hi. We're here on Autism Live to share about TACA, which is the Autism Community in Action, and how 1 in 36 families affected with autism can find support and hope through action with TACA. TACA does this by providing programs geared towards education and support so families receive valuable information to empower families to be the best advocates and self-advocates possible.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. We're looking forward to your questions and comments tonight. Thank you, Shannon, for having us tonight. We are live right now on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. So go ahead and write your questions in any of those platforms and be a part of our conversation. Feel free to ask us any questions you have about TACA and what we do. Next week, this program will be available as a free download wherever you get your podcasts. So with that, I think we'll jump into our follow-up for anybody who is watching tonight. Everything that we talk about tonight is going to be linked on our page on the calendar on the Autism Network Podcastathon calendar. You can find links to everything we're going to talk about, from our programs to our supports, education. And you can also reach out to us at tacanow.org, on TACA's Facebook page, and our Instagram, which is TACA Now. And I think with that, I will go ahead and throw it over to Jessica so that we can introduce ourselves to you guys tonight.
Thanks, Ryan. Hi, I'm Jessica, and I'm the mentor coordinator at TACA. I actually found TACA several years ago when my son began losing life skills and he started to self-harm. I was getting little to no direction from his pediatrician, and I was on waiting lists for assessments. I was looking over TACA's articles about what you can do at home because I really wanted to do something proactive at home with him. And I found out about diet interventions. So we started that, and within a week of removing gluten, he stopped self-harming. I began to attend meetings and conferences to learn more because obviously having a child stop self-harming is a big deal. When my son was diagnosed with autism some months later by the developmental pediatrician, she encouraged me to continue what I was doing with TACA and everything that I'd learned. So then I also requested a parent mentor, which is a free thing that you can do through TACA. And then after a few years, I became a mentor myself. In 2019, a position actually opened up at the TACA Foundation office, and I applied and I got the job. So I've been working there ever since, and it's been so great for me. And my son has just made so many strides towards independence and self-advocacy and improved quality of life. And I just know I wouldn't have been able to, and he wouldn't have been able to get there without TACA. So I'm just super grateful.
Thank you, Jessica. And I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Rhyan, TACA's volunteer support coordinator. I have been on this journey for about 12 and a half years. I'm a mom of 3. My oldest was diagnosed when he was 2. He's 15 and a half now. So we're in that transition phase of life for him. Figuring out next steps and supports for him. We are definitely, so grateful to TACA. We found TACA when my son was just before he turned 2 years old. And we were encouraged to get a mentor with TACA. And so we got a mentor, which is a one-to-one support person. She kind of guided us through many of those beginning early days. What should I do? Where should I turn? We received a family scholarship from TACA, which was amazing and just so crucial to our journey. He has made a ton of progress. We are so excited. He is just phenomenal with his younger sister and brother. So we are so excited to be here tonight and kind of share on that journey. I also do work for TACA, and came on about a year ago to help support our volunteers who volunteer their time so graciously. across the country. We are in 41 out of our 50 states, which is just incredible that we're able to, build that community around families living with autism. And so I work to support them and get them what they need to support families, as well as being a community volunteer in my area as well since 2012. So that has been such a huge blessing in our lives to be able to give back and support other families and kind of build that community out here in LA. So that's kind of our journey and where we're at right now. So tonight the topic is that we're talking about is the 1 in 36, the new prevalence numbers, and how we can go from support, which is what one of the things that TACA does, into action and taking action for our loved ones with autism. And I think that, that action piece is just so important, but how do we get there, right? And then the last piece for tonight will be hope. Within that action, how do we stay hopeful and, make sure that we are staying positive and keep going on that path. So that's kind of where we're going to center around tonight. The 1 in 36 number just came out recently, and excuse me, we wanted people to kind of understand what that means. So this number is a survey taken of 8-year-olds. So this isn't, adults. This doesn't include kids my son's age. He was counted a couple of prevalence numbers back. I believe his age group, we had we had for his birth year, we were at 1 in 54. So he was born in 2009. Or I'm sorry, 2007. So between 1 in 59 kids and 1 in 54 kids. So, he kind of in his gen ed class was the only kid with autism. And so now we're seeing this increase, and the latest survey numbers are at 1 in 36, a rate of 1 in 36. And so I think another thing that's really important to understand is that this survey is a couple years behind. So the survey was taken in 2020 for kids that were born in 2012. And so we're in 2023 now, about 3 years later. And so now we have that reporting data. And so we've definitely seen this, trend of up and up and up. And we wanted to talk about, that the study's going to be continued and redone every 2 years. So that I think is really important because we'll be able to see that trend a little bit more. Some of the things that, I think a lot of people are like, but what does that really look like? Why are we looking at these numbers? And I think, when we talk about what our community is going to be needing, and the challenges that we're going to be facing with these numbers, and so that we can hit them head on and we can best support our families. I think it's so important to really see autism as a family diagnosis. The individual is diagnosed with autism, but at the same time, the family and the support that comes from the family is so incredibly important. Creating that home space, and really you're the driver for, your child's improvement and quality of life. and just kind of everything in between. So I think really looking at how this is going to impact us. And I think before I kind of pass it over to Jessica for kind of like the state of where we're at, right? I did want to hit a couple numbers. You know, people sometimes in the community will ask us, like, what does that mean? So 1 in 36, what does that mean? And we talk about different things. So some of the things would be safety. So almost 50% of our family members with autism wander. So that, is definitely something to keep in mind as we look at these numbers rising of things that are important to kind of recognize. 14% of adults with autism, only 14% of adults with autism have paid jobs in a community-based setting. So we would love to see that number higher and higher. And I think a little later we'll talk about building community and kind of where that fits in. And also, like Jessica was talking about, those co-occurring medical conditions. Definitely, I think medical care is an area we could definitely improve in for our loved ones with autism. And 41% of children with autism are non-speaking. So having their needs and wants met and being able to be an advocate for their own lives is definitely impacted. So I think with that, I will turn it over to Jessica, and she can kind of go more in depth about these things and the state of where we're at right now.
Right. So yeah, the state of autism resources, essentially, along with that number of 1 in 36, it's at an all-time low. The bandwidth, the staffing, funding for programs that are available, they cannot support the numbers of the families and individuals seeking support right now. I'm sure a lot of people watching, they would tell you how hard it can get to, get into programs, services, get in, waiting lists for assessments, all of that kind of stuff. It's just this overwhelming thing. And you think to yourself, oh, great, like I'm going to get this program. And then there's all of these hoops, and there's all of, they can't staff people for the program. So it's pretty overwhelming at times. And it's just that aspect of it's going to get worse until something else is done. And this can affect schools and state and federal programs, community services like events, therapies, just, the whole shebang. For schools specifically, we have 1 in 6 kids with an IEP or a 504 plan. So this means 1 in 6 children cannot access their education without supports and accommodations. My son alone has many supports and accommodations so that he can access his education, which is his right, successfully. And if he doesn't have those, then we have to, that there isn't, again, the funding or the correct, either therapists or, program available for him, then that becomes a struggle. And then he begins to fail for no fault of his own. But what does this also mean for teachers? Like that means that they're up and they're reading the IEPs, and they're getting ready, and they're trying to get to the supports and accommodations that each child needs. And then we're seeing teachers leaving the classrooms due to burnout and lack of support in their own district, which is horrible. And then we're having children not getting the support and accommodations needed because there's not enough funding or therapists and aides to staff the needs required for those with IEPs and 504 plans. So that's schools, but then when we go to state and federal, there's not enough qualified staffing to the needs of our vulnerable and at-risk community. The wage for this kind of employment to support these families and to support these programs is so low that a lot of the times we'll have qualified people end up leaving to go do something else so that they can have their own living wage, essentially. The waiver lists in many states, they're years long. And so families needing immediate help are left with little to no direction or hope. And then we run into the problem as far as access for parents to finding these resources or individuals finding these resources. It can be like a needle in the haystack. There are barriers with like mismanaged websites, again, not enough staffing or funding, and then also a lack of marketing that can go back to funding as well.
So, thanks, Jessica. I think that's, it's so important to realize what our families are up against when they're diagnosed, and especially when they're just starting out. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to kind of navigate. And I think it's just so, overwhelming. I love, that you talked about the schools and how, one in six of our kiddos have an IEP or a 504. That study was released, I believe, the week before the autism prevalence numbers, and that includes other disabilities as well and learning differences. But even just taking that into context, those teachers are where when my son was diagnosed and he was going into school, he was one of very few kids to have an IEP. And now our teachers are just so, overwhelmed with the amount of amount of kids that need those accommodations and supports. And I love our teachers. They have such big hearts to do what they do, but they're facing challenges, and they're in the fight with us as well to make sure that our kids have the best outcomes. I did want to mention to everybody that if you guys have questions for us, please feel free to drop them in the chat at any point. And that way we can get your questions answered. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about how TACA fits in to kind of the solutions to, we face these big hurdles as autism families, and how does TACA fit into the solution? And what does TACA do? And so TACA is really about building community and taking action to improve the outcomes of families and individuals for a better quality of life. Our mission is education and support and hope to bring that to families with autism. And we want every individual with autism to lead an independent life. Improving the quality of life, not just for the individual of autism, but for the family, and helping our loved ones to even participate in the family life. I know for us, for a very long time, my son did not engage any longer with our family and what was going on, and he was very content to be on his own. He didn't really have the skills to engage, and so it was very difficult for him. He wanted to be a part of what was going on, but he just struggled so much with how to make that happen. So we're so grateful to TACA to really help us piece that out and figure out how to help him with those skills. He is now very, very much interactive with the rest of the family. And it's so great to be able to support him in what he wants. Also, good health for our families. We really love to share ways to keep our kids healthy. There's a lot of pieces to autism that can lead to unhealthy habits and shorter life expectancies and health problems that we wouldn't want for ourselves or anyone we love. So really helping each other to build ways to keep our kids healthy, especially like our teens and adults, getting them on board with getting healthy, eating healthy. I know a lot of kids can be very restrictive with their eating, and that can cause its own health challenges. So supporting families through that is just really, we want to make sure everybody, we're able to support them in finding that good health. And developing skills, like I said before, not just with engagement, but overall life skills, and just the skills we need every day to be meaningful participants in our own lives and advocate for ourselves. Attaining whatever level of independence that our children can, and presuming that they're competent to to reach those goals, and keeping, always moving the bar and making sure that we're supporting them into whatever level of independence is attainable for them. And overall, just be a bit better individual, like who, we're learning is a lifelong process. And even, I know Jessica and I talk about this a lot, like we're always learning, we're always trying to be better, do better. And that goes for everyone, right? We want to show our kids that and model that for our kids as well. So I think a lot of that kind of covers what TACA does. A little later, we'll discuss kind of how we do that. But the first thing I wanted to talk about that TACA does is building community and what that kind of means for our families. We talked about a lot of problems and a lot of barriers our families have and struggles. But at TACA, we really like to focus on solutions, and what we can do. And so I think that starts by working together as a community. Superman isn't coming to save any of us, and we really have to empower ourselves with information and each other, and to be able to find those solutions for our families to the problems that are a struggle for our own family. And so I think, TACA has quite a few programs surrounded on providing that support and help, and just building that community. So I will let Jessica kind of speak to our programs and what we do, and then maybe we can get some answers to your questions in the chat, and we will be able to share a little bit more about what we do. And there we go. So Jessica.
Thanks, Rhyan. Yeah, so it's great that TACA, I love what you're saying about focusing on solutions, because it's true. I love are you going to cry about it or are you going to boss up? And it's like, okay, first of all, I'm going to do both. So as a community, we come together, we talk about like, this is what's going on. And we say, oh man, that sounds really tough. So what are we going to do about it? Like, and we have each other like that. And TACA does a great job of trying to have programs and resources to provide that education and just action towards creating solutions. So we have support events every single month. We have some that are in person, then there are some that are virtual, and we have those that are national, regional, and then also topic specific meetings and events for families to engage and support in learning. We have our newly diagnosed seminar that provides an overview of all things autism. It's a great thing to watch so that you can really get yourself organized about the different things that you could be looking into. Each month, TACA features a monthly learning series to focus around a very specific topic of learning, because again, there's just so many things when it comes to autism. So for example, May is speech and communication. We also have our teen and adult program, which is centered around providing support to parents and caregivers for the challenges faced with that age group. Every week we have what's called TACA virtual support hours, and that's in our TACA Connect app. It's like TACA in your pocket. And we have TACA mentors in that space every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, where you can go in, you can ask your questions, and really no question is off limits when it comes to as far as all things autism. But that's a great time to get connected and ask, more questions about either TACA programs as well, and anything that you are wondering. Then we have our mentor program, which again, I'm the mentor coordinator, and that provides one-on-one parent support. Parents can be matched with a TACA parent mentor to help guide them on their autism journey. Those topics of support can include like onboarding services, beginning diet and nutrition interventions, navigating IEPs, discussing functional medicine options for co-occurring conditions, and a lot more. We also have our TACA Facebook group. We have our national page, which is great, and our chapters page, but we have what's called our Hope and Help Facebook group. And this is a private Facebook group for parents and caregivers. It's moderated by a group of parents and caregivers. It's 16,000 plus members across the country, and they ask their questions and they share resources across all things with autism as well. And it's a great place to find resources, support, help, and hope. We have chapters throughout the US, as Ryan was saying earlier, where they're holding meetings, seminars, family events, and this is where you can really dig deep and build your local community. TACA's website provides in-depth, comprehensive information for parents regarding the autism journey. There's checklists, there's articles, downloadables, and that's going to help parents wade through all the various topics of autism. Each year, TACA has a parent conference featuring expert speakers across the US, and those presentations would focus on a wide variety of autism-related topics, again, including IEPs, medical interventions, therapeutic interventions, advocacy, preparing for adulthood, and more. And in fact, we're actually having a virtual conference right now through our TACA Connect app. So if you wanted to reach out to our website, and you'll see where you could still register, and then you can attend those meetings, and you can see like recorded presentations and ask some questions and all of that kind of stuff. It's great. You can find links and information for everything that I just went over on these programs. You can visit the Autism Network Podcastathon calendar, or you can also just go over to a website, which is tacanow.org.
That was awesome, Jessica. It was a lot.
That was a lot.
But I think we have a question in the chat. It says, "Hi, ladies. I was ready to reach out to my local TACA chapter just as COVID happened. Last time I checked, my chapter isn't up. What will be happening soon? I'm in the suburbs of Philadelphia." And so I would love to answer that question, and I have a lot of resources for you, which is exciting. So unfortunately, our in-person meetings in that area are not currently going on. They're not currently active, but do not lose hope because, Jessica, correct me if I'm wrong, we have some amazing mentors in Philadelphia. So definitely connecting with the mentor program. Jessica, our mentor coordinator, will match you up one-on-one with another parent who's been on this journey a while. And you can in your application, let Jessica know what areas you're, really looking for support in. Really targeting at TACA, we like to kind of have a take action plan. And so what that is kind of picking those top 3 things, right? Those top 3 things that are the biggest barriers for your family to quality of life, right? Not just for the individual, but for your family. And also for the individual, and just kind of prioritizing those 3 things at a time. And once you've checked one off the list, and you've dug into all your research, and you've talked to your mentor, and you've created a plan, and you get going with that, checking that off the list, and then replace it with something else. But don't bury yourself in, oh my gosh, we want our family life to maybe not have so many tantrums throughout the day. We want, we want more language for our child so that they can advocate for themselves better. All of these things, and on and on and on. And then you get so buried under all of the all of the wants, and we need to take care of this, and we need to address this and address that. And so I think that's one of the best reasons to have a mentor, is because they can really get back to okay, but what are those three things? So let's talk about those three things. Let's work on a plan for those, and then get you going with something else. Jessica, did you want to add anything about the mentor program that I
I mean, what I love about the mentor program too is, I don't know for everybody else, but for myself, it's so much easier to give advice to somebody else than to give advice to myself sometimes.
right?
And it's not so much about giving advice, because really a mentor is supposed to be a sounding board, and they're supposed to point you in the direction, like, oh, you should go read this article, or you can go look at this webinar, or attend this conference, or, talk to maybe this provider in the area if it's for local resources. But just having that sounding board, and having somebody who's on the outside being able to say, well, did you consider this? That's a huge help to me whenever I'm going through anything. And as we say with TACA all the time, like, this is, and a lot of other people say as well, this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So there's going to be another barrier that's going to come up. And again, this is more having to do with the fact that, there's constant red tape to accessing services and getting into seeing the correct doctors, or getting an IEP completed to your satisfaction, so that that your child is accessing their education. So there's always going to be something. And also, from what I'm hearing, is that it kind of starts all over again when you get to adulthood. You'll have a parent who, they're like, I got this, and their kid, everything's set up, and the kid's feeling great and empowered. And then it hits adulthood, and it's like, nope, got to start all over again. As far as it's navigating kind of like a new terrain, essentially. And so there's always going to be that need to have as much backup as you need. And that's, as Rhyan's saying, building that community, having a mentor, those are really important things.
And I love what you said about, really being there to like cheer you on. And I know my mentor, that my original mentor, we're still Facebook friends, and she's always cheering my kids on, and all of my kids on. I just love seeing how her family's doing. And we've been on this journey over a decade, and she's still, like, oh my gosh, it's awesome to see that you're doing this, or, so I think that's such a huge piece for me, to have those people in my life, because sometimes this journey can get really lonely. We definitely, with it, two other neurotypical children, we're in different communities. They have different activities. They're into different things than my son with autism is. So really, having that community that knows how you feel, what you're feeling, has been where you're at, has gone through the things that you've gone through, I think really helps to not feel so lonely when you're at these other activities, and people, don't really get the life experience that you have. And I think in addition to the mentor program, our virtual support, like you said, when COVID happened, it really kind of put a wrench in everybody's, everything, from services stopping completely, to not being able to access support people for your loved one. And everybody really had to kind of freeze, reevaluate, how are we going to do this? And TACA did the same thing. We pivoted, and we're like, how do we support families? How do we provide that community for families? And so the virtual support has been incredible. I've really just enjoyed our monthly meetings. So we do a West Coast and East Coast meeting each month, along with a family support panel. And so our West Coast and East Coast meetings are really for parents to engage and ask questions, get answers, talk to each other about their experiences. It's really a safe space for our parents. We do not allow providers into those meetings. So really it's parent to parent. And I think, there's so many types of community when we're talking about building community, right? There's so many different ways to build community, and our virtual meetings really help building that parent to parent community. And then our family support panels each month is all about parent experiences. So we have some amazing volunteers, and they really, maybe their situation isn't exactly yours, or you have different resources in your area, but they kind of really, I think, show what can happen when you start digging, when you start creating, when and when you start really just troubleshooting and problem solving with each other. And so it's always just so amazing to listen to them kind of share their experiences. And so I think those are definitely some ways that I would plug in for support until we, have some more active events, in-person events in the area. But that's it, I think you're on the right track. And so we had a couple more in the comments. Amanda said she's loving the virtual conference so far. Yay. Yes, and another comment, the virtual conference has been amazing. And so that's this month, all month long, on-demand content, live presentations. And those presentations, after they're live, are up pretty quickly. I would say within like 15 minutes of the presentation, you'll be able to watch it on demand. So I know for me, once I get the entire crew to sleep at night is when I get to do my, listening and watching and all of that. And I think one of my favorite parts so far has been the closed caption feature. And so being able to read and maybe not being able to listen because, little ears are either around or sleeping, and so really being able to engage, but having that accessibility feature has been really awesome. And this week is all about medical issues in autism and how we can support our family members with their co-occurring conditions. Each week of the conference is a different topic. And so I think, it's so awesome to really be able to go in depth each week and hear from those providers. Thursdays, we have an option to ask questions from a provider on that topic, which I think is really cool. Jessica, what's your favorite part about the conference so far?
I mean, it's all of it. It's being able to talk to other parents and hear other parents talk. Because I mean, it's so great to hear the professionals. I need that knowledge, but I also need to hear parents talk about it because this is how you relate it to yourself. So having those parent panels are great. Doing the virtual support hour is great too, because then you can have that back and forth. And then going to the meetings again and talking about it all like that. That's sometimes like when I'm watching the conference, it's so much information that I can kind of feel like my brain is like throbbing and exploding. I'm like, oh no, too much information. But it becomes relatable when I can talk to other parents about it. So that's probably my favorite part about it.
And you're in the virtual support hour, right?
Yes.
On
every
Tuesdays.
Tuesday. Yes.
Tuesdays at 10 Pacific. So if you guys don't have a mentor yet, or even if you just have a question and you need, an experienced parent, there's Jessica's in there for the virtual support hour. She has some amazing mentors with her. And that's broken up into 2 sessions. So you can choose either room, and the first room is a general. So just general support, whatever you're kind of looking for. And what I get really excited about is our teen and adult sessions, because that's where we are in our journey right now. And I just find it so helpful, to be able to pop in, ask a question, get a resource, have, that ability to be like, okay, now we've got a little bit of action we can take, right? So getting that support, moving into action. And I love this comment, about changing and getting everything into place, and then it just falling apart like in COVID, and feeling like that every summer. Like that is definitely, I have, like I was talking about the teen and adult program, that is when we hit teen and adult, the teen years. I was like, okay, so all of this is new to me again. We need to recreate everything we created before. Even from, diet and getting him to really advocate for himself, and medical, really bringing him into those appointments. I think it is so important, especially in those teen years, and the younger you can do it, the better, but really helping your child to start being that advocate. It was a very big, kind of aha moment for us, hitting the teen years and having, doctor's appointments and therapy appointments, and they were relying on only my information, and they weren't really giving him the option to participate. Um, and, thinking forward to those adult years and the support he would need with that, really starting to get in that practice. And I know one of our amazing staff that runs our teen and adult program, she really talks about like how amazing virtual appointments have been. And being able to just put the camera on her child, and they are forced to, communicate with her child, and she's there to support, and she's there to facilitate in whatever way she needs to, but really helping, right, build that community of these doctors are getting experience on how to appropriately presume competence in our children, and that they are going to be adults, and they're going to be adults. They're going to still have these appointments, and learning to advocate for themselves in whatever capacity that can be. So I think, that's this transition time has just been, such a rebuilding of the house, and really putting in those new layers. I definitely recommend, if you are headed into those teen years, start early. Don't wait for 15, 16, 17, to start looking at life skills. Start building those life skills early. Your occupational therapist is a great place to kind of get life skills going on board, even if it's at the smallest. If we want to practice bilateral coordination, let's spread some peanut butter, because making a sandwich is going to be a big deal down the line. And anything that we can do to make our children more independent as an adult, I really strongly feel that it's going to protect them more and more. The more you can do for yourself, the less opportunity there is for others to take advantage of that situation. So really, I think starting really early with those life skills, and even with the school, starting at like age 12, really looking towards what path are we on, where are we headed. I will say my son made his biggest gains between 12 and 13 years old so far. He's really, and not, puberty is a big player. I know we have a lot of families that, puberty comes and it just throws a whole new wrench in things. But I think we have a couple more questions in the chat. Jessica, did you want to take one of these?
I see one from May, and she's saying that she's trying to download the app, but it says what company she's with and who she's trying to connect with. Maybe that's not the TACA Connect app. I know on our website, if you go to tacanow.org, there is a section up at the top. I'm actually going to hop over on my screen to go look at it right now to make sure I'm giving you the correct instructions. Up at the top next to the Get Support button, there it says TACA Connect app and how to download. There are videos on how to troubleshoot and how to get on there. So you can do that and see if that's helpful. I'm not sure if you have the right one. That's because I don't remember asking as far as what company, right, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm not sure that that's part of the, you can also feel free to email us and we can help you troubleshoot through that, or hop on our Hope and Help Facebook group, which is just an amazing resource in itself. But and ask that question there. They will be more than happy to direct you to how to get in, or our national Facebook page. We have people monitoring that can help you get into there. So we can definitely help you get in, because you don't want to miss all of this amazing content. And so I think, let's see, I think Jessica, did you want to take a couple more and then we'll wrap up with some last resource recap and pass it on to the next group?
And I love, May, that because what you're trying to do is she's trying to get her daughter away from processed foods and check out info on diet. So you can see that on our website as well. There is a diet section. So if you even do the search and you put diet, there's going to be some articles that'll pop up. That's such a big deal for all of us, right? Getting away from the processed crap.
That's it. Well, what I do is I go into that to the Hope and Help group, and because I always like to replace right before I take stuff away, and so getting ideas for what to replace with, because it's so hard. Okay, there's all of these gluten-free breads, which one is actually not the same thing as just regular bread? Which one's a little healthier? And there's a post in there every Friday, and it's hashtag Foodie Friday, and everybody puts their recipes and all kinds of just amazing stuff. And so it's just such a great place I go, everybody goes to bed and mom's sitting there on her phone, and I'm like, ooh, okay, so next week I need some recipes for next week. With Easter coming up, looking at what kind of stuff I can make or replace. And Amanda said she loves Foodie Friday.
So do I. It's great. It's super great. Ruth was saying also, she was saying she wants to be able to get a TACA mentor. How does she do that? How do you qualify? You have to be a parent or caregiver of somebody with autism. That's your qualification. So you can go onto the website. There is a mentor page that you click on it. There's going to be a short video. You're going to see my face. I'm going to be, oh wait, I changed it recently. So I don't think you're going to see my face. You're going to hear my voice. But it's just a quick 3-minute, I think, informational video, just giving an overview of expectations and things to do. And then you fill out an application. And again, like Ryan was saying earlier, you put your areas of need on there, and then I match you up with somebody who's available and it's as close to that as I can get. So a lot of the information is on the website, as far as navigating to find these different places. And that is at tacanow.org. So tacanow.org. And May said that yes, as far as for the food, her daughter doesn't like the gluten-free mac and cheese. Sometimes it's just about finding the right one, because
Right.
some of them are gross. And then I'll have other people say it to me like, no, wait, that one's my favorite. And I'm like, okay, like I'm glad you like it. I like this brand over here. So sometimes it's just about finding the right brand, or what works best for your family.
Awesome. And you can find Foodie Friday in our Facebook group. If you search Hope and Help for Autism, that is TACA's Facebook group. It is a closed group, so you will have to answer 3 questions when you join the group. And pretty quickly, they kind of go through and admit people, almost, I think daily. There's new members joining right now. There's about 17,000 parents in there. So, I mean, it's, such an amazing way to get so many different perspectives. And even on the food, like some of the stuff, I'm like, oh my gosh, like stuff that I would have never thought to make. And I'm just like, oh, that looks amazing. We're trying it. And really, I let my kids go through the pictures sometimes and be like, what do you guys want to eat? So I think we have a couple more minutes if anybody has any more questions. But if not, I think Jessica and I will kind of wrap it up with what kind of our, favorite part of being a TACA member is. I don't know. Do you want to go first, Jessica, or you want me to go first?
My favorite being a TACA member. So being a part of TACA. So actually, even today, I posted on my personal wall about my son and having music therapy. Now, these aren't music lessons because he also has music lessons because he loves the drums. But music therapy is a great way of engaging different parts, your brain to your body, and communication and collaboration and just all of these things. And that's, of course, really important that you get a qualified therapist, like a qualified music therapist. But I found out about that at a TACA meeting. There are so many, it doesn't matter, even working with TACA since 2019, you'd think I'd have an up in the game of knowing things, but I'll go to a meeting and I'll learn something new. And I'm like, wow, why didn't anyone tell me this before? But the thing is that's, as we said earlier, we're all learning. And the best way to do that, the best way that we can support one another is to gather together, either virtually or in person, and learn together. I know that we talk a lot with TACA about it takes a village, we're a community, it takes a village, and that's absolutely true. So that's my favorite part, that we're all helping each other out, essentially.
I love that. And that's it. I think mine is a little similar, but really being able to see everybody grow, watching everybody grow in, just their learning and their families, and using TACA resources. We started out, I went to a educational meeing, and then they're like, oh, but we also have these coffee talks. I'm like, well, tell me a little about that. What do you guys do there? Because there was just a speaker at this meeting and they gave a lot of great information. But tell me a little more. And they're like, well, you could, meet parents that are going through what you're going through. And, at the time I was a very young mom, and being able to have other parents to look up to who have been there, done that, and either had great success or it totally bombed. And they're able to be like, hey, so I did this and it was a total disaster because of X, Y, and Z. And so maybe don't do that. But I think, really just having those role models in the beginning were just so helpful for us. And just having this community of people who like believe in you and believe in your child and believe that all of us can, improve our lives at any point. There isn't, I know when my son was first diagnosed, there was so much talk around the window, right? The window, the 0 to 5 window. And it's like, no, the window doesn't close, like, ever. We're still learning at 15. And I know adults that are 22 on the spectrum, still learning, still growing. So please, if anybody brings up that almost 20-year-old nonsense of, the window closes, don't believe them. Just don't. Just always have hope. Always keep searching for what's going to, improve your child's life, your family's life. Keep learning, keep growing, and just really check out, all of TACA's resources, connect with people. And yeah, I think that is definitely my favorite part, is the hope. It all ends in hope. We've got the support, we start moving into action, and there will always be hope. The end.
Absolutely.
So, but I think,
Thanks,
Amanda,
Amanda.
you are awesome. Love you. Amanda says that, definitely my son has improved so much at 14 thanks to TACA. Oh, I love that. Right. And he's just going to keep improving more and more and more and more. And we're so excited, to help you guys on your journey and to walk your journey with you. And I think with that, we have about just 1 minute. So keep on hoping and plug in where you can. And I think we'll, say goodnight. And don't forget to watch the next crew here at 7 o'clock, because they will be awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.